Well, I just had a book come out on the resurrection of the dead, a new metaphysics of afterlife for Christian thought. So it's out through Routledge Press, and that was a culmination of a lot of hard work. I have more, so that's really just talking about the metaphysics of resurrection, but now my new research interests in a paper I was working on here for EPS are sort of expansions of, okay, now that I've talked about the metaphysics of life after death, like the how and the sort of the hows and whys and so on, now I want to think about what does resurrected life look like? So Paul, for example, St. Paul, in 1 Corinthians, describes the resurrected body in interesting ways, the soma pneumatikon, really. So we translate that as spiritual body, but that's a very odd way to translate that, given some of the ways that English thinks about the word spiritual. So I'm trying to figure out, really what the biblical scholars seem to think is that that sort of body is a body that's powered by the Spirit, not made of Spirit, right? And so I want to think more about what does that mean? What sort of metaphysics can we give to that? It's one thing to say it's Spirit powered, like Holy Spirit powered, but it's another thing to say how that works, right? So I want to think about that, because this is going to answer questions like, why is it the case that we're not subject to the deleterious effects of entropy? Why is it the case that in the eschaton that we're both free and yet impeccable? And why is it that our wills are created, fully fixed, and no longer rebellious? And then also that we are, I'm guessing, something like perfectly wise, or at least perfectly wise as a human can be. We will know how to co-rule and co-reign perfectly in lockstep with God. So, for example, Carl Mosier, who's a New Testament scholar and theologian, thinks that this is kind of the picture that we get in the latter parts of Genesis. Pharaoh's relationship to Joseph, or Joseph's relationship to Pharaoh, is really like a picture of what co-regency and co-ruling with Yahweh is to look like. Particularly in the eschaton, you'll notice that Joseph perfectly wills in accordance to Pharaoh. He's not Pharaoh, but neither does he step out of line, right? It's like he's got the signet ring, the stamp, everything is there. It's as if he's Pharaoh, but he's not. If that's right, and that's a picture of what, of course, what Jesus as a human is to Yahweh, and we share in that reigning in the eschaton, I want to know what makes that qualitative difference. What's the actual transformation going on?